In the quiet village of Okuru, where the air smelled of roasted yam and palm oil, and the crickets sang into the night, there lived a girl named Amina. She was 16, bright-eyed, curious, and innocent. But she carried something in her blood that she did not understand. She lived with her grandmother, Mama Eid, a wrinkled old woman whose eyes were too sharp and whose voice carried weight in the village. Mama Eid was known as a midwife and a healer, but people whispered that her powers came from something darker. "Don't stare at her shadow," the old men would say. "It moves even when she stands still." Amina never believed such things. To her, Mama Eid was just her loving grandmother, stern, wise, and strange at times, but kind. Until the night of the new moon, when everything changed. The night it happened, the sky wore no stars. The moon had vanished behind a curtain of thick clouds, leaving the world in a heavy, watchful darkness. The villagers of Okuru were already asleep, save for the owls and crickets that kept whispering secrets into the air. Inside a small mud hut near the edge of the village, Amina tossed and turned on her raffia mat. She couldn't sleep. A strange unease sat in her chest, like something waiting to happen. The night was too still. Even the usual hum of the forest had fallen silent. Then she heard it. A sound, soft at first, then louder. Dum, dum, dum. Drums. Slow and deep, coming from the direction of the Osu Forest. Amina sat up, heart pounding. She listened again. The rhythm was strange, steady but ancient, like a heartbeat older than the world itself. Each beat seemed to call her name. She turned toward the other side of the hut. "Mama Eid," she whispered. No answer. She reached out, touching her grandmother's mat, empty. The blanket still held warmth, but the old woman was gone. Amina frowned. Her grandmother never left the hut at night. Never. The drumming grew louder. Dum, dum, dum. Something stirred inside Amina, a mix of fear and curiosity. She slipped on her wrapper and stepped outside, barefoot. The air was cold and damp, smelling of wet earth and palm wine. A faint mist rolled over the ground. The sky was so dark that even the path ahead looked like a shadow. Yet the drums guided her, drawing her toward the forest like a moth to fire. As she walked, the wind picked up. The tall grass brushed against her legs, whispering as if warning her to turn back. The frogs stopped croaking. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Then, far ahead, she saw light, a faint glow deep within the trees. Blue and flickering. Amina hesitated. The elders always warned that the Osu Forest belonged to spirits. Anyone who enters after dark, they said, walks between worlds. Children who went too close sometimes returned sick or silent. Some never returned at all. But something in that light pulled her. It was as if the drums and the glow were speaking directly to her bones. She took one cautious step. Then another. The forest greeted her with the scent of burning herbs and the sound of whispers that didn't belong to any human tongue. The trees seemed taller, their trunks like dark giants. She felt eyes watching her, though she could see no one. The drums were close now, so close they made the ground tremble under her feet. Amina crouched behind a tree, her breath shallow. She patted the leaves and froze. In the middle of the clearing stood a circle of women. Their bodies shone with oil, their wrappers red as flame, their skin painted with strange white chalk patterns. In the center burned a fire that glowed blue, flickering without smoke. And there, among them, was Mama Eid. Her grandmother moved gracefully, her feet bare, her eyes reflecting the strange firelight. She was chanting in a language Amina had never heard before, soft, rhythmic, and haunting. Around her, the women swayed, their voices rising and falling like the sea. Amina's blood ran cold. She wanted to scream, to call out, but the sound died in her throat. The drum stopped suddenly, and in the silence that followed, she felt the air shift, heavy, electric, alive. Mama Id raised her hands. The night has come. The new blood stirs. Amina didn't understand. But when her grandmother's glowing eyes turned toward her hiding place, she realized something terrible. Mama Id already knew she was there. Amina crouched behind a fallen log and watched. In a wide clearing, women moved in a circle around the blue flame, their bodies glistening with oil, their wrappers red as blood. White chalk symbols, Nsibidi marks, covered their arms, faces, and bellies. They danced slowly, whispering words she could not understand. Then Amina saw her. Her grandmother. Mama Id, standing tall, her eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. Amina gasped, but before she could run, two women grabbed her by the arms and dragged her into the circle. The drumming stopped. The silence was heavy. Mama Id stepped forward. Her voice carried over the clearing. Tonight, my blood joins the sisterhood. The women chanted in reply, so it is. By blood and by shadow. Amina shook her head, terrified. Grandmother, what's happening? Mama Id smiled. You were born for this, child. The spirits marked you before you drew your first breath. You cannot run from what you are. A woman approached carrying a calabash filled with dark liquid that shimmered like moving glass. Another woman produced a blade carved from bone. She took Amina's hand and made a small cut across her palm. Blood dripped into the calabash. At once, the fire flared, glowing blue and green. The shadows around the trees seemed to come alive, twisting, watching. Mama Id took the calabash and raised it high. The blood is accepted. Let the spirit of the forest bear witness. Then she handed it to Amina. Drink. Amina trembled. I don't want to. Drink, Mama Id repeated, her eyes cold. Or be taken by the forest. With shaking hands, Amina lifted the calabash to her lips. The liquid was bitter and cold like ashes. The moment it touched her tongue, her heart began to race. She felt her body leave the ground, her vision exploding into color and darkness. Amina saw herself floating in a place between worlds, dark yet filled with strange light. Around her moved spirits, whispering her name. She saw birds flying backward, snakes with human faces, and women with fire for hair. At the center stood a figure on a throne made of bones and roots. Its voice was deep, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. You are the seed of the old blood, it said. You will walk between worlds, guard the veil, and speak with the wind. Accept your place. Amina tried to scream, but her mouth produced only silence. Then the figure touched her forehead. Her body burned like fire. The mark of Nsibidi flared bright across her skin, and everything went black. When Amina awoke, she was lying on her mat inside their hut. The morning sun filtered through the cracks in the wall. Her grandmother was humming softly, grinding herbs as if nothing had happened. Amina's mouth was dry. Grandmother, was it a dream? Mama Id looked up, smiling faintly. Dreams and truth are the same to those who see beyond. Later that morning, when Amina went to fetch water at the river, the villagers stared. Some bowed. Others ran away. She didn't understand why, until she saw her reflection. There, on her forehead, glowed a faint symbol, an Nsibidi mark, the same one she had seen in her vision. It pulsed softly like living light. That night, when the moon failed to rise, Amina heard the drums again. This time, she did not resist. She stood at the edge of the forest, and the wind whispered her name. She smiled sadly. She knew who she was now. A child of shadow. A keeper of secrets. A witch, chosen by blood. Some inherit land. Some inherit names. But a few inherit the night itself, and must learn to live between the living and the dead.